Hello word nerds, welcome back to another video. Today I'll be ranking the Scrabble tiles. Now I'm assuming, maybe I shouldn't assume, but I'm hoping you know at least the basics of Scrabble, because knowing that would give you a little bit of context for this video. Scrabble is definitely the best board game that exists. There are a number of factors that will go into making a tile a good tile or a bad tile, and of course, even though I'll try to argue my tier list, my rankings, it's at the end of the day kind of subjective. So some tiles almost everyone will agree, are good, and almost everyone will agree are bad. But there are some tiles that, some Scrabble players will say, yeah, this is really a good tile. And other players will say, this is a garbage letter. And it depends on a number of things. Your level, it depends on the words that you know, because different experts will have slightly different vocabularies. And I'm not saying that I'm a Scrabble expert, but I play the game quite a bit. I have at least a mid-range Scrabble vocabulary, I think. And yeah, what makes a letter good or bad? If a letter can help you to make bingos, if a letter is very common in making those 7-letter words, 8-letter words, so you can score that 50-point bonus, then that's a good letter. That's points toward the letter. If a letter is very difficult to use, it doesn't have good synergy with other tiles, it's more difficult to play, then that's working against the letter's ranking. So this is about, how well does a letter balance between how easy it is to play, how many points you can make off that letter, how well it combines with other common letters, how well you can use it to bingo, how many 2-letter words the letter can make. There are a number of things that we have to consider. This is going to be not really a detailed video that goes into, the statistics of each letter and percentage of bingos, and we're not doing that. I'm doing kind of a quick video that is really my subjective view of how good or how bad each tile is. Definitely let me know in the comments where you agree and where you disagree. I'm sure every Scrabble player will have a slightly or a vastly perhaps different tier list. So let's start with a blank. The blank is easily the most powerful tile in Scrabble. The point value of the blank is 0, but its versatility makes it the most powerful tile. This is the tile that you want to pull. Yeah, there's not much else that needs to be said about the blank. You can use it for any tile. Of course, a lot of the times you're going to use it as an S to hook onto other words to perhaps get a bingo. And yeah, even if you're not using it for an S, you can use it for anything. So it's the most useful bingo tile. If I pull a blank, I want to make sure that I am making 50-something points at least by playing this blank. I'll just go in alphabetical order here. Next we have the A tile. It's one of the better vowels. It's definitely, it's not as good as E. It's not as easy to play as E. I'd say it's a strong B. It's a strong B. It's only 1 point, of course, because it's a vowel. And it's fairly easy to play. It has good synergy with a lot of tiles. You're gonna see A in a lot of bingos, but it's not as common as E. It's not as easy a tile to play as E. And having 2 or more A's can be annoying, whereas having 2 E's isn't that big of a deal. B it's a heavier tile. It's one of the mid-range tile. It has a 3-point value, so yeah, that's good. In terms of bingos, you're not gonna see B helping you out a lot in making those bingos. It's one of the more difficult tiles to play in the game. It doesn't have great synergy with most other letters. I'm comfortable putting B in the D tier, even though it has a nice 3-point value. It's C. I might come back around to B, but D for now. C, just because, yeah, C is definitely a D. And I think B is significantly better than C. C has good synergy, great synergy with the H tile, and excellent synergy with the K tile, but yeah, aside from those tiles, it has fairly good synergy with S as well. But overall, it's not worth keeping on your rack. And I think if you get a C, you should get rid of it. You shouldn't be saving it. Yeah, the C it's undervalued. For how difficult it is to use a C, it should be worth 4 points at least. D, it's worth only 2 points, but it's so easy to use D. It's definitely an A tier letter. It's in a lot of bingos. You can hook it at the end of a lot of verbs to get that ed ending, which makes it pretty versatile. It's in a lot of 2-letter words. D can be used with every vowel for a 2-letter word except for U. So it's pretty versatile. It's good for making parallel plays. And yeah, it's an easy letter to use, and even if this were valued at 1, it would still be a good tile. It wouldn't be as good of course, but 2 is definitely more than I would ask for in terms of value, so that is good. E is an excellent letter. You don't want 3 E's, but 2 or 1, that is good news. E's are, of course, extremely common in bingos. E is the most commonly used letter in English, and also it's the most common tile in the bag in Scrabble. It is definitely a good tile to have. E's are good. F, I used to love pulling F's. That 4 points make it a heavy tile. It's definitely a heavy tile, but when you compare how difficult it is to use an F to that 4-point value, I couldn't put it above a C rank. You can get FA, FE, OF. So it does have a little bit of flexibility with the 2-letter words, and of course I'm gonna be harping on 2-letter words and bingos because the 2 most reliable ways to make massive points in Scrabble are making very strong 2-letter words, getting those parallel plays, and also bingos. Bingoing is great, but it's not super reliable. You're not going to be bingoing every turn, and especially if you're more at the beginner or even intermediate level, you're not going to be seeing bingos that often. Expert players will see bingos every couple of turns. And of course, as the game progresses and the board fills out, it's going to be more difficult to make bingo plays. So bingos aren't everything. And finding strong tiles that are heavy enough in terms of point value that you can conveniently and easily place on the board to make 2-letter words and letters that make many 3- and 4-letter words, those letters are going to be strong. So we're looking for the balance of ease of play and point value here. We're on to G. G is not a good tile. The ing ending is great. That's great, but that's basically all it's good for. It has great synergy with the N tile. G is really good for using with the N, but it's not a very good tile. It's worth only 2 points. I think G is too difficult to use to be worth just 2 points. It's as bad as C. It's even worse than C, because at least C can be played easily with H and with K and with S and a couple of other letters, and C is worth 3 points. G, I can't accept G for 2 points. H is one of the heavy tiles. It's worth 4 alongside F, W, and V and Y, and this is, I think, the best of the heavy tiles. And yeah, it has excellent versatility with those 2-letter words. We have AHOH, UH, we have HIHE, HAHO. It's such a good tile to take advantage of those powerful squares on the board. So Yeah, H is a great letter to have. I like pulling H's. It has great synergy with, of course, C, with S, with T. You know, TH is good. And yeah, there's no reason to hate the H. It's not an S tier. I couldn't compare it to a blank, but it's definitely A tier for me. I is it's one of those middling vowels. It's in a lot of bingos. It's a good bingo tile to have. But I find I's to be a little bit annoying. I can accept having 2 A's, 2 O's, 2 E's, but 2 I's? That's tough. Even though I is good for bingoing, it's still not one of the more comfortable vowels for me. So I wouldn't put it, but I can't put it in the C tier, can I? It's not bad enough to warrant being thrown in the same tier as a B. I wish there was something between C and B. I'd say it's a lower. You know what? I'll do some rankings within the rankings so we can have a more granular approach here. I'll put the more powerful tiles even within each tier to the left. So H, I think, is the best A tier so far, so I'm gonna put it at the extreme left, and then maybe E, then D. So A is better than I, so I'll put A, I. F is definitely better than B, and we have these. Okay, so we're at J. J is it's one of those hit or miss styles. Some players hate pulling J, some players love pulling J. And for me, 8 is a very big number. It's a power tile. But J can be so dangerous because it doesn't have very good synergy with a lot of other letters. There are not many 2-letter words that you're going to get from J. J-O is good, and some dictionaries will say J-A is fine. But yeah, that's pretty much it. It's a bad letter to pull to make those 2-letter words, to make the parallel plays. And parallel plays are very important. And it's not helping you out in bingos. Certainly not. So even though 8 is a very good number, making it a power tile, it's not stronger than a D tier. It's not the worst power tile. I think you will know what tile is the worst power tile from early on, but it's definitely a weak power tile. K is a unique letter. It's the only tile that has a 5-point value. There's only one K. So you could consider it a heavy tile, meaning you could rank it with the F and the V and the W and H. And you could also consider it a power tile. You could consider it kind of in league with the J and X. But the K is fairly easy to play for its value. This 5-point here, I think it's overvalued, making it a great tile to pull. It has great synergy with the C. So this can make your C a lot more valuable. That is good. And in terms of 2-letter words, we have OK, we have KO, we have KA, we have KI. So it's a middling letter for 2-letter words. It's not great for bingoing. KY I think is a pretty good ending. And KY is accepted too as a 2-letter word, which is great. Getting in those 2-letter words that don't rely on vowels, those are good to have in your vocabulary and on your rack. So the K is a strong tile. It's not as strong as the A tier tiles in general. I'll put it as a strong B tier. Next we have L. Personally, I do not like pulling L's. I think L should be worth 2 points. L should be worth 2 points. It's that difficult to use. It's okay-ish when it comes to making bingos. Of course, you're not going to be making massive points on parallel plays since it's only 1 point. It's just not a tile that you can love. I don't hate it. It's not as bad as G, but D. D is good. M is a fairly middling tile. It's great for playing two-letter words. You can play it with every vowel. I think you can play it with Y also. So it's a pretty versatile tile there. It's okay for bingos. It's worth a solid 3. I think M could be an A tier or a strong B tier. Strong B tier. Yeah, strong B tier. Mackie flex. All right, N is, it's a good bingo tile. It's not a great bingo tile in my experience. I'm not an expert. Maybe the experts will consider it a great bingo tile. For me, it's a good bingo tile. It has fairly good synergy with a lot of letters, but it's not a great tile. And you don't want to be pulling multiple N's. I'll say it's a solid C rank. O is one of the better vowels, or I'd say it's dead in the middle. E and A are good vowels. I and U are, yeah, O is in the middle. Pulling 2 O's is actually not bad. There are so many words with that double O. So I think O could either be a weak A or a strong B. But seeing that it will be going up against the E here, I'm gonna make it a strong B. I'd prefer to pull an A than to pull an O, but I'd prefer pulling 2 O's to pulling 2 A's. And we have almost the same number of A's and O's in the bag. We have 9 A's, I think, and 8 O's. So they're almost even. But A is just a little bit more comfortable, and it might just be my particular vocabulary that makes it so. And now we're on to P. P is a good letter. We can make a number of two-letter words with P, and it's definitely not difficult to play a P. I'll say it's a strong C. Strong C. Could be a weak B. Q. Oh wow. Q is F tier. Wait. Let's think about this for a second. Let's not get too emotional with this Q. The Q is very difficult to pull. If you pull an end game Q and you're playing against an intermediate or expert player, you are doomed. It's very easy to block the Q. And if you pull a Q without a U, you're very limited in what you can do. Of course, knowing those few words that use Q without using U, that's good. You know that QI, QAT, these words are good to know. It only works with the I for making two-letter words. That chi is a staple in Scrabble. You're gonna see chi played a lot in more advanced Scrabble games. Yeah. When I get a Q, my first thought is, how can I get rid of this Q? And I'll take 30 points or even a little bit less in getting rid of this Q. I won't get too greedy, because keeping this Q in hope for a great score, it can cripple your hand for turn after turn. And pulling the Q without the U is deadly. Of course, that QI on a double, triple, a parallel triple letter or triple word, or even double word or double letter is crazy points for one letter. But how often will you get to pull that off against a good Scrabble player? Not very often. I am not leaving an eye open if the Q is still out. It doesn't have great synergy with the other power tiles. Of course, you can make quiz. It's 10 points is a lot, but it's not enough to make up for how much of a weight this can be on your hands. Is it worse than G? I think it's worse than G. It's worse than G. Yeah. Sorry. I'm happy when I pull a Q and U. Pulling a QU is good, but there are only 4 U's. U is the rarest vowel in the game. So you're not likely to pull the Q and U on the same turn. So you might end up waiting on that U. or being forced to use a U on the board. So you are not going to be able to maximize on these 10 points as easily as you could maximize on the 10 points on the Z, or even the 8 points on the J or X. All right, R is a great tile. It's a great tile to have. It's excellent for making bingos. It's a great hook. ER is a great ending. It's very easy to play. Even pulling 2 R's isn't too crippling. A lot of words end with R and start with R, so yeah, fairly strong tile, A tier. S is the there are 4 S's. S is the best tile for bingoing besides a blank, because of course a lot of nouns and verbs take S at the end. So if you're an expert player or even an intermediate player, even if you're an upper beginner, you'll be able to use the S to your advantage to make some bingos, and even to capitalize on some longer plays to hit the triple word scores when they're maybe 6 tiles away. Yeah, so S is a fairly good letter, and aside from just being a good hook and being able to to grab onto a lot of verbs and nouns, it also has amazing synergy with the H and with the C also. It has great synergy with the T as well. ST is a good beginning. SK is a good beginning, so the S can make your K more valuable. The S, I'd say, is an S tier, that it is not as strong as the blank, but it's definitely up there in that same tier as the blank. T is an excellent letter. Great bingo tile. It has great synergy with a lot of letters, and even though it's only worth 1 point, you will not mind pulling a T. Very easy to get rid of a T, and yeah, it plays well with every vowel. And yeah, T is it an S tier? No, it's not an S tier. It's not as good as the S or blank, but I'd say it's a nicely middling A tier letter. U, it's the worst vowel, and I think that is pretty objective. I'm not sure if anyone would disagree that this is the worst vowel. U is worth 2.5 to even 3 points. It's that difficult to play a U. Of course, the U brings value to the Q, but yeah, that's all. U is not a good tile. When I pull, if you pull 2 U's, you're in trouble. And pulling 1 U is annoying enough. E tier. It's not as bad as the Q, but it's bad. V is terrible. It's V works with no 2-letter words. Oh, by the way, another reason why C cannot go above D tier is because it's in no 2-letter words except CH. If your dictionary permits CH, then that is actually a great 2-letter word, seeing that it would be one of the few 2-letter words that doesn't require a vowel. But aside from that, you're not going to be seeing C making any parallel plays, which makes it very weak. V, no matter what dictionary you're using, you are not playing V on a parallel play. It's poor for bingoing. It's difficult to play. It doesn't have good synergy with almost any other letter. It doesn't play well with any of the power tiles. Yeah, there's no reason to love the V. I think it's even worse than the Q. The Q have a few redeeming qualities, in that it's worth 10 points, which that's okay, and it plays well with the U. But the V has no redeeming qualities. It's just a poor tile. I'd even put the V below the Q, perhaps. In a Z tier if I had that. I prefer to pull a Q in early to mid game than a V. In the late game, I might prefer a V, just because getting stuck with a V is less of a pain than being stuck with a Q. What else can I say that warrants the V being way down here. Yeah, pulling 2 V's is definitely, that is bad luck. That is bad luck, pulling 2 V's on the same rack. The good thing about the V, and this still does not elevate it to an E tier, is you can use it defensively. If you're in the lead, you can kind of lock the board a little bit. If your first play is VAV, for example, you know, you're making the board a pretty annoying place for your opponent. Yeah. So V is a bad tile. W is, I think, the worst V tile. So compared to F, H, and Y, yeah, this is not very good. Its value is okay. It doesn't make that many 2-letter words. The W is terrible with some letters. It's terrible with a U, with a Y, with an I. It's not a good letter. It's not good with a lot of the higher valued letters, and it doesn't work particularly well with the vowels. It's not a good letter to pair with a lot of vowels. You're not going to be seeing W in a lot of bingos. Yeah, it's a weak tile. D or E. It's not as bad as U, so I'm gonna put it here. And for the D tier, let's put J here. Let's put C at the end. It's almost E tier. Are we looking good within the tiers? Blank S, H, E, T. Yeah, these look good. X! X is one of my favorite letters to pull in Scrabble. X, you know, pulling X makes you lucky in the game. It's worth 8 points. 8 points, making it a very, very powerful tile. And it's very versatile. Unlike the other power tiles, it works extremely well in parallel plays. You can easily squeeze it in those triple letter squares to make 50 points. Yeah, it's an amazing letter. It's of course not a bingo tile. You're not gonna be looking to bingo with an X. If you do bingo with an X, wow, good for you. That's not very common, but it's easy to get rid of an X and make 40 something, 50 something points along the way. And I don't mind keeping an X on my rack for a little while because it pairs well with every vowel. The X gives value to the U because you can play XU, and not many letters work well with the U. You can play XI, of course, so even though QI is good, XI is even better because X is a better tile. And while you can play XI, a lot of letters work well on the other side of the X. We have AX, OX, AX, EX. So it's pretty difficult to block an X. An X is very versatile. Even in the end game, you are not gonna be having a headache because you have an X. So the X is so strong that I'm gonna put it in the X tier. Just for laughs. But yeah, the blank has to be... Yeah, the blank has to be there. So yeah, X is not as... I'm not as happy to pull an X as I am to pull an S, maybe. Although when you look at the frequency of the tiles, the X might be a happier draw than the S, because you will always be able to pull another S. There are 4 S's compared to 1 X. So pulling that X is special. I definitely prefer the X over every other power tile in the game. It's an extremely powerful tile. Now, some persons might say putting it in the S tier is, you know, over the top, but I think it's worth going in the S tier. This is my tier list, so work with it. Y is both good and bad. Y is a good hook. You know, a lot of words take that Y at the end, but you know, it's not a very versatile tile. I believe it doesn't work well with quite a few letters. W, oops. Y, U, oops. V, wow. Q, I. There's so many. There's so many tiles that I'd be wary of. if I were to pull a Y. KY is, ooh, that's a great word, KY. Y is, it's, at the end of the day, I can't put it anywhere besides maybe C or D. BY is a pretty good word. FY, ooh. Yeah, Y makes some interesting 2-letter words. Y makes some interesting 2-letter words, and that is enough to save it from the D tier. I'm gonna put it here. Here, yeah. Z! Some person say Z is S tier. It's not quite S tier for me. It's a, ooh, come on, what? Yeah. Oh wow. Okay, Z is a very, very powerful tile. Of course, it's the only tile worth 10 points besides the dismal Q, making it, you know, an amazing tile just on point value. And we have ZA, we have ZO in more liberal dictionaries. So it's a little bit more versatile than the Q in terms of 2-letter words, but not as versatile as nowhere near as versatile as the X or K. Of course, nothing goes before the Z, nothing precedes it for 2-letter words, so it's not great for 2-letter words. 3-letter words, 4-letter words, you will see Z. And Z is definitely not a bingo tile, but I have bingoed a few times with IZE, that IZE ending, and even I think AZE. Yeah, ZING. Z is, it's not a great tile in terms of playability, but those 10 points, you can capitalize on the 10 points, especially in early to mid game. It's not a tile that I try to get rid of as soon as I pull it. I can definitely make some points with the Z. Is it A tier? The Z, it's worth 10 points. 10 that's a lot of points for a tile that isn't very difficult to play. It's difficult. I'd say it could be a strong B, but I think it could be a weak A. I am comfortable putting Z here because, you know, ZA, ZO, it's 10. It's 10. Quiz. Yeah, Z is good. I wouldn't be mad at someone for putting it in the B tier, but I definitely wouldn't consider it for C tier or below. So low A or high B, definitely not an S tier. It's not up there with the X. But yeah, this is my tier list. S tier, we have the powerful blank, the #1 tile, the god tile of Scrabble. The S, which is amazing, and the X, which is the best power tile. A tier, we have ETRD, which are good bingo letters, good letters that work well with anyone, with any letter. H is very, very versatile, the best heavy tile in the game. Z is amazing because those 10 points are easy to double and triple and make those parallel plays with. B and C, these are the middling tiles where the point values are kinda just worth how difficult these letters are to play. D, these are not good tiles to pull, but they're not terrible tiles. These tiles are not good for endgame. The D tier and below, if you pull these when the game is winding down, you need to get rid of them. Even if you're just getting face value points, you need to get rid of them. Very easy letters to block. And the L is not so bad. C and J, oof, not good letters. And some persons will say C should be in F tier, which I could understand, but I use C to an extent where, yeah, I think I use C well enough to say it's a D tier. E, bad letters, no salvation. F, ooh, I hate these letters. V is the worst Scrabble tile. Q is not good. V is the worst. I hope you enjoyed this video. I wonder how many Scrabble players would agree at least 80% with my tier list. I'll have another video that I'll make kind of in tandem with this one, where in which I will rank every letter of the alphabet, and these rankings won't be based on Scrabble. It will be an even less structured, more random video where it's just based on how much I like those letters, and maybe Scrabble will come into play a little bit. But yeah, that video should be a fun watch. This one is kind of a more serious video, you know. So yeah, Scrabble players, what do you think? Non-Scrabble players, please learn Scrabble. Okay, Scrabble is a great game. All right, I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, if you think it was fun, if you think it's useful for Scrabble players or just for word nerds, then definitely give it a like so it can more easily spread to other word nerds. And if you want to see more content like this, not necessarily just Scrabble related, but word related, then letter related, definitely subscribe, and I'll have many more videos coming your way. All right, see you soon. Thanks for watching.